Chapter 735. I don't want to be ridiculed by those people. Is that why you gave up on your own son when you changed career paths? To increase your value? Mo Ting asked. The woman was obviously dumbfounded by Mo Ting's words. She never imagined him to strike back in such a way. But, a moment later, she began to laugh. This is my family's choice. President Mo has no say in it. Then you should keep your mouth clean. Mo Ting did not give his opinion regarding other things. But, when it came to Tingning, retaliating was only natural. Fine. I'll keep my opinions to myself. After all, everyone has eyes of their own. Quote, I've already noted your attitude today. So, don't blame me for not giving you face. The woman laughed again. But this time she compromised a little. How about this? I'll go home and lecture her. What do you think, President Mo? Quote, it's too late, Mo Ting said before he hung up the phone. Even though she originally came from Hairui, she was no longer a part of the Monsieur, and of course, Chen Xingyan wasn't a part of Hairui either. But, when it came to Tingning, no one was allowed to insult her in front of Hai Monsieur. Mo Ting did not like people that sucked up to him nor people that defied him. Those in the industry knew this well. This made the woman a little unsettled. The matter didn't only involve Chen Xingyan, it also involved Tingning. After all, Chen got into this mess because she was sticking up for Tingning. The CEO of Yixing Film and Television was named Bai Yu and her sister was named Bai Linlin. Bai Yu originally had the intention to personally train her sister. Unfortunately, her sister had too many ideas. Due to fear of Mo Ting, Bai Yu ended up calling her sister on the phone. You've created too big of a problem this time. Others may not have been an issue, but I can't believe you actually covered Mo Ting's sister in poo. Do you still want to survive in this industry? Quote, Bai Linlin was currently at home, legs crossed with a proud expression. So, what? My sister is currently working in Hollywood. If worse comes to worst, I can always work with you. Quote, go apologize to Chen Xingyan. Bai Yu ordered. I won't go. Quote, if you don't go, then don't ever call me your sister again. I will never let you pursue a career in Hollywood. Tell me what you are going to do. After you've thought it over carefully. Bai Linlin hung up the phone angrily, almost smashing it on the ground. Although she couldn't contain the anger inside her, she understood that a wise man never fought when the odds were against the Monsieur, so she ended up calling her manager. Find a chance to buy Chen Xingyan a present as an apology. You don't want to go over there yourself? The manager asked. She's already lucky that I am willing to apologize. Me going there to apologize in person? No way. Plus, what did I say about Tingning? It's true that she's old, so becoming outdated is only a matter of time. There's nothing to hide. The manager looked at her phone uncomfortably. Bai Yu had made a phone call and told Bai Linlin to apologize in person. Yu Jia told you to apologize in person. Bai Linlin kicked the leg of the table angrily. After releasing her anger for a bit, she finally replied, help me find out the SL*T's schedule. Okay, the manager thought that Bai Linlin had come to her senses, so she happily began her research. Bai Linlin scoffed. She was going to see if her sister would care if she truly offended Hairui to the extreme. Tingning understood the situation that Chen Xingyan was currently in. Although no one dared to insult her in the open, she had faced many difficulties behind the scenes. After all, as the sister of Mo Ting, she had the luxury of threatening others, but she also had to carry the pain that came with her identity. Mo Ting had always been ruthless in the industry. When dealing with artists from other agencies, he never showed any mercy. So, there were plenty of people that held grudges against Hai Monsieur, but because of his capabilities, they never dared to do anything recklessly. However, Chen Xingyan was different. She wasn't a part of Hairui and she had no one else to back her up. Although her manager was in Zihao, he wasn't enough to act as her shield. If someone wanted to play tricks from the shadows, no one would notice. After the news of her being covered in poo was leaked, Chen Xingyan remained silent for a few days. Even though Zihao kept her company during this time, she was still depressed that there was nothing she could do. Yet, she still had a live broadcast scheduled for tomorrow. Thinking about the ridiculing looks from other people made her deeply unsettled. No matter how big the job, she no longer wanted to attend it. And Zihao could tell that she was feeling dejected. So he wrapped his arms around her and pulled her onto his lap. He then asked gently, "Do you want to cancel the job tomorrow?" Quote, "I don't want to be ridiculed by those people. You are no longer the Chen Xingyan that I once knew. Where did the Chen Xingyan that would flip the world upside down just to anger others go?" Quote, after hearing this, Chen Xingyan let out a laugh. "I'm afraid of causing trouble for you." After all, she didn't want Zihao to exhaust his funds in order to get revenge for her again. Respect is gained. If you want others to think highly of you, you need to first think highly of yourself. You will attend tomorrow's broadcast as scheduled. Even if the sky falls down, I will hold it up for you. And Zihao comforted as his heart ached. Chen Xingyan had changed too much since being with High Monsieur. She was once the free and careless Chen Xingyan. But now, she was so cautious that she had completely lost herself. Later that night, Zihao sat in the study room to go through some documents. At this time, Tang Ning gave him a phone call to confirm Chen Xingyan's schedule. "She has a live broadcast tomorrow night, doesn't she?" Quote, "Yes, 8 p.m. tomorrow night. I'll go watch it and show her some support." Okay, he was more than happy to have another person join him in protecting Chen Xingyan. Of course, Tang Ning did not expect that Bai Linlin would also appear at the live broadcast at a time like this. It was only right for her to act like a sister-in-law. At least, she had to tell everyone that the Mo family wasn't easy to bully. Behind Tang Ning, Mo Ting had heard her conversation on the phone. So he asked, "Are you planning to protect Chen Xingyan?" Quote, "You protect me and I'll protect our family." Mo Ting did not respond as he ran his hands throughout her hair. It seemed he was in agreement. Plus, if Xingyan continues to be bullied, won't it be an embarrassment to you as well? How could a Mo family member allow others to torment them like this? Quote, "Understood." So, tomorrow, Tang Ning wasn't officially attending the broadcast. She was simply showing some support. Of course, before her commercial was to be filmed, she wasn't going to reveal herself recklessly to the media. But, since someone ridiculed her for having stretch marks, she was going to give them a slap in the face. However, as a victim, Chen Xingyan had no idea about Bai Linlin, nor did she know that Tang Ning was going to make an appearance. The upcoming show was going to be entertaining to watch. The next afternoon, accompanied by Zihao, Chen Xingyan arrived at the television station. However, as people walked past her, they secretly smiled in ridicule. Chen Xingyan was of course embarrassed. So Zihao straightforwardly asked them, "What's so funny?" Quote, Chapter 736 Dirty the Hands of Others. No one expected Zihao to bite back, so they quickly scurried away. Of course, with Zihao's protection, Chen Xingyan's mood slightly improved. But, Zihao did not feel like he had done enough. So, he placed his arm around Chen Xingyan's shoulder and protected her in his embrace. "There's no need for this." Quote, Zihao glanced down at her and said one simple word. "Go." Quote, Chen Xingyan smiled and no longer retaliated. At this moment, she only had this man in her eyes. No one was as tall and strong as him. Soon, the couple reached the waiting room Monsieur, perhaps because of Zihao. The makeup artist was exceptionally polite to Chen Xingyan. Even if people disregarded Chen Xingyan, they still had to consider Zihao. "That's enough. You've already delivered me here safely. I've experienced live broadcasts before. You can go back to doing your own work." Chen Xingyan remembered that Zihao had an important meeting that night. If not for her, he would not be so busy. Go ahead. Don't be late because of me. And Zihao glanced at Chen Xingyan and then at the makeup artist, of course. The look in his eyes was very different. One was warm and gentle. The other was sharp and threatening. The makeup artist smiled, allowing Zihao to relax a little. It seemed this woman was not bad. I'll make my leave first then. Tell little Seven to give me a phone call after you're done. Okay, Chen Xingyan nodded. Little Seven was Chen Xingyan's assistant. Perhaps because of what happened with Annie, the assistant that Zihao found for Chen Xingyan was very hard-working. But she didn't know how to smooth out a situation and wasn't very quick-witted. However, for someone that was only required to assist with Chen Xingyan's daily lifestyle needs, there was no need to find someone that was too witty. So, Little Seven was enough. After Zihao left, the makeup artist pulled out her tools and said admiringly, although you aren't signed to a well-renowned agency, it's still worth it to be taken care of by Zihao in this way. Chen Xingyan looked into the mirror and gently nodded her head in agreement. She didn't want to join Hirui nor Hollywood. All she wanted to be was Zihao's only signed artist. That was already enough for her. As the live broadcast was to start at 8 p.m., Chen Xingyan had been given a sufficient amount of time to get her makeup done. However, before her makeup had even been completed halfway, the door to the waiting room was suddenly pushed open by Bai Linlin's manager. She stuck her head in to check that Chen Xingyan was in the room. Monsieur, after confirming she was there, she pushed the door further open and walked in. Miss Chen, how are you? Can I have a few minutes of your time? Quote, Chen Xingyan had no idea that this woman was Bai Linlin's manager. Nor did she know that Bai Linlin was the one that had poured sewage water on her. So, she asked curiously, what's the matter? Quote, the thing is, quote, stop wasting your time being polite with her. Bai Linlin appeared from behind her manager and walked in past her, cutting into the conversation. She then stepped in between the makeup artist and Chen Xingyan, forcing the makeup artist to quickly balance herself against another makeup table. We've met before. My sister ordered me to come here and apologize to you. Quote, after seeing Bai Linlin, Chen Xingyan realized what she was referring to. Hand me the flowers. Seeing the expressionless look on Chen Xingyan's face, Bai Linlin stretched out her hand towards her manager. Her manager immediately handed her a bouquet of fresh flowers. After receiving the flowers, Bai Linlin simply threw them at Chen Xingyan. You've received my apology. Quote, perhaps no one had ever seen an apology like this. She was obviously here to cause trouble. Chen Xingyan looked at the flowers on her lap and was aware that the woman was deliberately here to cause trouble. So she threw the flowers aside and said gently, before I make a move, you better to get out of here. Are you angry? Bai Linlin laughed. I thought you were a person of integrity. Yet, you ended up complaining to Mo Ting. I simply said that Tang Ning was old. Was there a need to blow up the situation to this extent? Quote, oh, could it be that Tang Ning doesn't allow anyone to call her old? But this is the truth. She's already given birth. It's not like she can revert back into a virgin. Hearing this, Chen Xingyan glared menacingly at the woman. But Bai Linlin was not afraid as she continued. Just because you can't beat me, you turn to my sister. Can you be any more shameless? If you have the ability, you should return the suffering you experienced back to me. Let me tell you, I specifically came here today to insult Tang Ning. I want to see how much of a suck-up you are. Chen Xingyan endured because she knew the woman had a strong background. She didn't want Hirui to help her, nor did she want to cause trouble for Zihao. But the more she remained indifferent, the worse Bai Linlin got. The broadcast was about to start, but before her makeup had even been half completed, Bai Linlin had come in to cause trouble. When it came to being shameless, there was no way she could beat Bai Linlin. Do you know what the public are calling Tang Ning? They're calling her a watermelon skin, because the stretch marks on her stomach look like the pattern on a watermelon skin. Quote, Chen Xingyan could no longer hold back anymore as she grabbed onto Bai Linlin's shirt. But Bai Linlin was not afraid as she stared straight into Chen Xingyan's eyes. I can say whatever I want. Tangning is a slut. Quote, what did you say? Quote, she definitely is. Bai Linlin responded too quickly. She didn't even notice that the response did not actually come from Chen Xingyan. Bai Linlin's manager reached out her hand to stop Bai Linlin, but her face turned pale in fear at the sight of Tangning as she quickly hid away, too afraid to say a word. How come I didn't know that I was SL*T? Tangning asked in an amused manner. Hearing this, Bai Linlin finally snapped into realization. Tangning had personally appeared in the waiting room. Monsieur. Bai Linlin froze as she turned around to look questioningly at her manager. Why didn't she warn her? However, Tangning was not a merciful person. So, she turned around and said to Lu Che, close the door. Lu Che nodded and closed the door shut. Tangning sat down on the sofa and asked Bai Linlin, since I'm such a SL*T, can you explain in what way I am one? I'm sure Miss Bai has plenty of time to give me an explanation. Not just Chen Xingyan, but even the makeup artist was frozen in shock by Tangning's appearance. But Tangning did not forget to remind the makeup artist, continue what you are doing. Doesn't she have 20 minutes before she's due in the studio? Quote, the makeup artist nodded obediently as she returned to applying Chen Xingyan's makeup. While she watched the show that was playing out, Bai Linlin swallowed nervously. For some reason, her arrogance had completely disappeared. No matter how arrogant she was, when faced with Tangning, chills naturally ran down her spine, giving her goosebumps. Why aren't you speaking? Tangning asked as she lifted her head. Quote, I don't think you've forgotten about Song Shin, who has recently been sent to prison. Tangning cut in. My speciality is giving people an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Quote, you wouldn't dare. Bai Linlin realized her voice trembled a little. Oh, there's a private bathroom here, Tangning mumbled to herself as she looked at the bathroom in the corner. Why don't you have a taste of being covered by poo? Actually, no, that's too much trouble. That would only dirty the hands of others. Hit the like, thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for listening.